Hello, students and parents. Mr. Giumini. I want to come to you with the conclusion of Topic One Midpoint Quiz by looking at the last two questions. I'll look at this one here, and I'm actually going to solve it a little differently than I did it in my first and third period today. If you're in seventh period, you do see the algorithm I'm about to show. What I like about this is you students in first and third will have access to another tool in your math kind of toolbox there that you can utilize. And seventh period, I did explain another algorithm you can utilize. But if we see here, Haley participated in a swim-a-thon. She got 8 donors to equally contribute money. Haley raised a total of $2,820. If each donor sponsored 5 laps, how much did each of them donate per lap? Okay, a couple things here. 8 people decided to sponsor Haley. So Haley swimming, it's kind of like a race for the cure type thing where you get people to sponsor you and you raise money for a good cause. Well, here, she had 8 people. So maybe mom and dad, grandparents, maybe a brother, sister, aunt, and uncle. And the key here is they all gave her equal contributions. So everybody, if one person gave her $10, they all gave her $10. If one person gave her $15, they all gave her $15. Now, Haley raised a total of $2,820. If each donor sponsored 5 laps, how much do they donate per lap? Well, let's think about this real quick. So she has 8 donors. We have 8 donors. And each of those donors said, hey, you know what, Haley? We'll sponsor you for 5 laps. So if you want to think this is a picture, this person sponsored 5 laps. Person 2 sponsored 5 laps. Person 3 sponsored for 5 laps. 4 for 5 laps. 5 sponsored for 5 laps. 6 sponsored for 5 laps. 7 sponsored for 5 laps, and the 8th person sponsored for 5 laps. So I'm thinking about here, how many laps did all the people contribute all together? Well, they sponsored for, I should say, contribute. How many laps were sponsored all together? Well, we have 8 people. 8 times 5 means 40 laps. So Haley, to get all this money, ended up swimming 40 laps. But we want to figure out what was the donation then breaking down per lap. We know what it was total. We want to do per. And sometimes with per, it's either multiplication or in this situation, it's division sometimes. We can also do division or multiplication. So in this situation, we know that the total she had is $2,820. She cannot make more than this. She cannot collect more than this. So we're going to divide. So 2,820 becomes our dividend. 40 becomes our divisor. I'm now going to do some division here. And I'm glad we're doing this division because this is another one that's tripped us up a little bit. Because we're dealing with money, I'm going to place a decimal in the dividend, place it up in my quotient. I'm going to extend this line a little bit and annex a couple zeros if needed. 40 will not go into 2. It will not go into 28, but 40 does go into 280. When I get a 3-digit and see how many times a 2-digit goes into it, I always look at the number in the tens place. In this situation, the tens and hundreds, excuse me. What times 4 gives me the close to 28? I'm going to go 7. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 4 is 28. I subtract. I have 2. I bring down a 0. Will 40 go into 20? No, it will not. I don't automatically bring down another 0. I now need to identify and indicate that 40 does not go into 20. So I put the 0 up here. Now I bring down another 0. 40 will go into 200. Well, again, the same thing I did here. 20. 4, how many times is 20 going to, or 4 going to 20? 5 times. That gives me exactly 200. So, leaving me with a total of each person donated $70 and, I can't have money and have no number in the hundreds place. So I will annex a 0. So she was receiving $70.50 per lap. That's what I'm looking for. Nice label too. Hope that one makes a little sense. Last one I'm going to do here. Jaden's new puppy weighed 11 1/4 pounds at 4 weeks old. At 16 weeks old, the puppy weighed 1 2/3 times more. The dog gained weight. How much did Jaden's puppy weigh at 16 weeks old? Now, keyword here, times. That might indicate multiplication. I'm going to do a little estimation here. Let's just round this to the nearest whole. Well, that gives me 11. Let's round this to the nearest whole. 1 2/3, that's larger than a half. 2/3 is larger than a half, so that will round to 2. It's times. I will multiply these two. I am assuming, giving a rough educated guess, that Jaden's dog now weighs 22 pounds. Let's do some math to get a more precise answer. 11 1/4 times 1 2/3. That gives me 45 fourths times 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. As they say in 5th grade, punch somebody, I guess, and bring them to first aid. That's very nice. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. That gives me 5/3. And as I told you today in class, I am not smart. I am just fluent with my math facts. 5 and 4 have no common factors. I'm looking for some cross reduction. Can't cross reduce there. 3 and 45 do have a common factor, and it is 3. So 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 45 15 times. I go 15 times 5 gives me 75. 4 times 1 is 4. We don't want to leave this answer like this. I don't say, hey, you know what? I weigh 75 force pounds. We just don't talk like that. We need to make this so we can communicate effectively mathematically. This is just a fancy way for saying 75 divided by 4. Now, because I'm looking for a mixed number, I don't need to put a decimal here. We'll show you what happens. 4 goes into 7 once. That gives me 1 times 4 is 4. I subtract. That is 3. I bring down the 5. The divisor of 4 does go into this remainder of 35, which gives me 8. I have 8 times 4 is 32 with a remainder of 3. Now, as I stated, I do not bring anything else down. 4 goes into 75, 18 full times. What do I have left over? 3, because it doesn't go in evenly, so I have to have a numerator, that part. And how many holes do I have? I have 4 holes. So this dog weighs 18 3/4 pounds, and it's at 16 weeks old. Hope this helps you out. All right, take care. Bye-bye.